Whatever happened to the 30 Days of Sbang series? Thank you, Stephen Woodruff, for $2. I ran out of steam, and I don't know. Sometimes you have this idea, and it seems like a good idea, and then it doesn't pan out. I understand that as a content creator, it is it's bad for me to tell you guys I'm starting a series and then not finish the series. Like, I should have just started the Sbang series and not said it was 30 days. It's kind of like when you say, hey, if I buy a smaller pair of pants, then that'll motivate me to lose weight so I can fit the pants. Okay, I hear that people do that. I've never done that. I just buy clothes that fit me. But, like, you know, you're aspirational and you think you're going to... And so I started the series and I thought, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be better at Sbang. That sounds like, and I thought maybe if I say it'll be a 30-day series, that will motivate me to really to do it. And it didn't, especially because I started the series like in November or December, and then it got super cold. And then it was like super cold and I didn't want to go out and fly. So that's what happened. And I feel bad that I told you guys I was going to do 30 days and then I didn't. Because as viewers, when you see that a series is starting, you get excited, and then it's annoying when a creator says they're going to do something and then they don't do it. I try to keep that to a minimum, but that's what happened to that one. It also turned out that I sucked at Sbang more than I expected to. I thought if I really, okay, we're going to do this. And I got a couple things. I can eject now. That little Sbang move where you kind of go, whop, right? I've got that. That's just in my rotation. I'll whip out and eject, no problem. I've got some little Spangy moves in my freestyle now that I didn't before. But, I never started to actually look like Sbang. The next video I'm going to make, if I make another one, will be trying linear rates. Someone told me that Sbang, you need linear rates. I was like, because that makes the moves snappier. I'm actually kind of interested to do that. Maybe I will. But I'm sorry that I said I was going to do 30 days. I should have just said a Sbang and not said 30 days. So, yeah, it's been a year since I started that. We're coming up on a year. Yeah.
It seems like a good time to ask. I know you're doing the intro to FPV series. Do you have a section where you're going to talk about rates?
I mean, I have a rates video, but when I think it's okay to do it on the default rates. I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for anyone.
Gotcha.
Why? You think I should?
I've seen this. It's one of those things where you see one thing, you see 10 of them. But I've seen a bunch of people asking, including in my DMs and stuff, and in Discord about how they choose their rates as a new pilot. It's often, it's a very common question, I think, right? And and one thing I saw was we talked about that book from a while back. I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it's that FPV book that the guy made.
Yeah, no, I have that. I literally have that sitting right over there. Hold on, let me go.
Okay.
Because people, this one by Christian Mollica.
Yes.
I keep this nearby to inspire me. If you guys don't know about this book, little plug for this book. This is not a paid advertisement or anything. This is a really cool book. Christian Mollica is the guy who made it. FPV Flight Dynamics. And it's so, do you like diagrams to help you think about FPV flight? This is such a cool book. It's so cool that someone made it, right? 100% if you love FPV, go buy this book. It's worth every penny. Can you still buy it? I assume it's print on demand. Okay, go ahead, Blunty, though. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All right, so the reason I ask is because someone posted a picture of the rates from in there, and they've got low, medium, and medium rates. The one thing I noticed was the low and low medium are linear rates. And I wondered what you thought about a new pilot learning a linear rate versus a more exponential rate like we typically see, right?
What are the default rates, though? Are they linear? In liftoff?
I have to go put it in. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll answer that question, though. I will say I have a video that I put out today called Find Your Perfect Rates with Science. And so anybody who is curious about how to find ideal rates for themselves, I suggest you watch this video and follow the procedure in this video. As far as linear rates go, I would almost always want to have some curve in the rates. Like, if you take the rates down as low as maybe 300 degrees per second, you can still benefit a little bit from a little bit of expo to give you some more center sensitivity. I would say that beginners should probably be learning with lowish rates, but 600 degrees per second is okay. Like, when I teach people to fly the standard rates that are usually on there, it's not the Betaflight default rates. I like to have a little more of an expo curve, but they're in the range of about a high 500 to low 600 degrees per second, and they all learn to fly that way. The expo helps even it out. I wouldn't suggest somebody learn to fly with linear rates. I don't think that people think linear rates are more predictable, and in a way they are, but that center stick sensitivity is so valuable, especially to beginners.
And then one more
yeah.
little rate thing. You might have put it in the video, but do you suggest everybody starts at like starter rates? Like, how long do you need to stay on a rate before you know if it's for you? I'm sure this is all in the video. And then do you think you like should push up to a rate you expect to go to, like watch a person you fly and get there, or like feel what's comfortable, or like, because I know it's tough to like, you can't just start at 800, right? Or maybe you can.
No, I mean, with enough expo, you could start at 800, but I probably wouldn't recommend that. So like I think something like the 533 rates, I fly 533 rates with 40% expo. Evan Turner flies 533 rates with, I think, no expo. But I like a little more expo. And I think that's like the much below about 300, it's going to be very difficult to fly. Maybe as low as 250 or 200, but like I wouldn't have anybody below about 300. So the difference between 300 and 500 is not like that much in terms of your ability to control the drone, especially with expo. So I would start somebody in the range of, say, 500 to 600 degrees per second with some expo. And then, like, if they're a racer, that's probably where they're going to stay. Like, a lot of racers run Evan Turner's 533 rates. And that number is not arbitrary. Like, that number comes from, if you watch, like, a top racer fly, as they're going around the track, when they do, like, a hairpin turn, bang, you'll hear the stick hit the edge of the gimbal. And what they're doing is they've tuned their rates so that the sharpest turn they want to make, boom, the stick is all the way over and hitting the edge of the gimbal. And then they don't need to turn any faster than that. And so they're maximizing their precision. So that's sort of where that 533, I mean, exactly 533. Well, could it be 532? Obviously, there's a little give there. But that's where that number comes from. And then the only reason I think why you would want to go faster is if you are a freestyle pilot who wants to be able to do snappy flips and rolls. And then the question is just, you're going to find somebody who's flying you like, as you suggested, Blunty, and you're going to try to see how fast their rates are and how fast you need to spin and start working your rates up. I've heard from people who say that they like to have higher rates because they want to make smaller stick movements. And so they can make a sharper, faster stick movement if they have higher rates. And the problem with that is I think most people lose a lot of precision when they do that. When I started reducing my rates, I used to fly at around 11 or 1200. And because there was a time when all the freestyle pilots had super high rates and were doing super fast flips and rolls. And when I brought my rates down to 900, I noticed a big improvement in my precision and my ability to hit lines and gaps. And then for racing, I go down to 533, which further increases it. But it's hard for me to imagine. The only person I can really imagine wanting to be below, like, around 500 is somebody who, like, maybe you're doing internal fly-throughs of a house with a Cinewhoop and you want really low rates so you can make really slow, precise movements. I don't know. Is that sort of in the ballpark of what you were asking?
100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Rauk FPV, if Bubby flies freestyle at 450, that surprises me. But I mean, it's like Vanover flies around 700, and you just get to this point where you kind of can't do snappy moves. And if you never want to do snappy moves, okay, but I feel like you're kind of leaving some tools out of your toolkit. Like, it's like saying, you know, I'm going to play a musical instrument, but I'm never going to hit the black keys. I'm only going to play in the key of C natural. You know, why wouldn't you incorporate all the sort of tools at your disposal? And I feel like if your goal was to fly smooth and flowy at 450 degrees per second, you could accomplish that while still having an expo curve that let you hit 600 or 700 degrees per second if you went to full stick. But that's just my opinion. Also, Bubby flies with a spoiler on his drone, so no one should listen to anything he says anyway. I'm teasing. But also, that spoiler is the bane of my existence. I still haven't been able to figure out if Bubby is trolling me with the spoiler or if he actually believes it makes him fly better. And that upsets me more than the spoiler itself. Anyway. Got to double blind the spoiler to know if it's actually better. I mean, the spoiler, it creates drag. Right? I don't know if you could tell the difference. I don't for a second believe it makes you fly better, though. Like, maybe do you remember? Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. It's a funny idea because the entire point of a spoiler is for downforce, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly. It's for downforce. Yeah. And you don't need downforce on a drone. That's dumb. What was that drone that had the waffle arms? It was by, I'm blanking on the company's name. They make the $30 motors. And they make that racing frame. Blunty, come on, man. Who am I thinking of? Carrera. Ha ha ha! I found it. Yeah, like, remember this?
I'll say it. Nearly every quadcopter frame is basically just a rubber stamp of a frame that came before it.
Oh my god, my audio is so bad.
Seems to try to put new, really go own it. As hats off to Korea for that, and I couldn't be. But isn't the whole point of Korea? Waffle wings, this is what I'm going to keep calling them, by adding of the quadcopter.
See, look at this.
And that's increased the float time of the.
Pause. Yeah, so the idea was that they'd add this drag, which would increase the float time, but it also made the quad incredibly inefficient because you needed more. It decelerated. It had no float. It had float upside down, but it had no fling, and it also changed the angle that you were tilted at because as you're going forward, it's pushing down. Honestly, I don't think the spoiler on Bubby's quad is actually big enough to have much noticeable effect. Either way, I just think it's the idea of a spoiler is that you want downforce, and it's silly to have more downforce on a quadcopter. Anyway.